Hello, this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine, and this is Tower of London Tea by Harney & Sons, which I've had on this channel often. I really just like the taste of it, but I thought, looking at the calendar, this would have been my last full day in London, so I thought, let's do a little pretending. Yeah, it sounds a little sad, but sometimes we have to be a little fanciful, and so I'm also using my Alice in Wonderland mug, which I like quite a lot. Haven't read Alice in Wonderland in a while, but I don't know if I'm going to get back to that right now. It might be too much for me. I don't know. But it's a good tea. This tea is very good. So I thought I'd do a kind of combination Friday read / update. Obviously, I am still reading and still enjoying reading. And again, not reading as much as I wanted to because, thinking that I had all this extra free time on my hands that I'd be this ravenous reader and writer and I get so much done. And I have gotten quite a few things done that I didn't expect to, but not to the extent. This time of year becomes a more frustrating time for someone who's not supposed to spend a lot of time outdoors when you realize how beautiful it is most days. Not every day. It's been raining sometimes, and then I'm very happy to be indoors, cuddled up with my cats and my tea and my books and my reruns of Law and Order, which I found on a channel on TV. They're giving my cable provider. I only have basic cable, and they gave us a whole bunch of what they call Freeview channels, which is channels that I don't get normally in my package. And guess what? Here we go. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch some Law and Order because I missed Law and Order. And it was the Lenny Briscoe days, which are my favorite days of, man, I hope I got that name right, because that would be funny. My favorite time of Law and Order. I still miss him. And so that was nice, but I'm not over watching television either. I am still reading. So yeah, when it's raining out, it feels okay. I've always been okay with staying indoors. I'm not the kind of person who says, "Oh, lovely, walk in the rain." I'm not against it, but I don't love it, honestly, because walking with an umbrella. But when it becomes a beautiful spring day and everything's blooming, I have slight allergies to the blooms. But not as much as my indoor allergies, so it's kind of like ironic that I have to be constantly clearing my throat and taking allergy pills and having itchy eyes and stuff like that and runny nose over things that, I just have to be indoors. And so it becomes a little frustrating because a lot of people are posting on social media about, people, whether they're readers or not readers, who are socially isolating, but they also have outdoor space. So, when I say outdoor space, I don't even mean having a nice, beautiful trail in back of your house where you could take walks and not meet a soul for hours. I'm talking about a fire escape even. I don't even have a fire escape. I do not have a backyard of my own. I do not have a veranda, balcony, porch, garden of any kind, alleyway. We have a stoop in front of my building. It's a 6-family building. So obviously, 6 families, people are still going in and out, so I cannot sit on that stoop by myself and expect there to be no forms of human interaction at all. So walking is possible. I do occasionally take walks, but again, I live in Queens, New York, and in a more crowded part of Queens, which, by the way, Queens has been hit pretty badly by this whole virus situation, so I definitely want to stay far away from people, but it's still like you walk on a quiet time of day on the quietest block you can find, and there's still people. So it is frustrating. And the fact that it's beautiful spring and I can't go to my Central Park and just chill by a tree somewhere is frustrating. But I'm trying to make the best use of my attitude and read where I can and not feel too bad if I don't finish something or if I'm not getting as far in something as I have. So I'm going to tell you about some of the books that I finished this week. Well, the book that I finished this week, some books I'm currently reading, and some things that I plan to be reading this weekend. I'm working on an April TBR in my head. It's kind of a hard thing to do when, it's kind of a hard thing to do when, I'm constantly allergy throat, that's what it is, when you don't know what's happening next month. Like, I know some of the month will probably still be home. I just don't know how long that's going to last, so it's kind of hard to plan books. But I know I can make a rudimentary TBR, and I know that if I plan to read, let's say, 10 books in a month, that at least 5 of them may be left behind, and then I may pick up other 5 books. So it's okay if I do a theoretical TBR. I just haven't actually put it together yet. So stay tuned. And cat hair in my nose. Cat hair everywhere. So, this is the book that I finished. Now, when I say finished, it's a reread, but it's been 30 years, so it felt pretty new to me. I mean, I knew what was going to happen at the ending. I knew a few things that were going to happen, but most of it I completely forgot. And it's kind of good in a way, because, you know, and I'm reading things as an adult now, whereas when I was reading this, I was much younger than, yeah, obviously much younger, 30 years, do the math. But I've been reading the Anne of Green Gables series since January because of the Anne-along kind of read-along situation. I thought, that's great. So I read Anne of Green Gables in January, I read Anne of Avonlea in February, finished it in March, and now I'm reading Anne of the Island. Actually, no, I'm not reading it. I finished it. I don't know what planet I'm on. And I won't be getting to the next book in the series yet because that's Anne of, I think, When the Poplars, which I think I liked. I can't remember anything about it, however. No, I can. Actually, I can remember a few things. I remember exactly where I was when I was reading it, but I just can't remember that much about it. But I won't because I can't find it in my apartment. I must not have it anymore. I only have some of the Ella Montgomery books and not the entire Anne series, apparently. I will probably have to take it out of the library, which is out of the question right now. And I just don't want to read it on an ebook. I know that people do like that. I just don't want to. So, and I can wait. I can hold off. I don't have to be strict with myself. So, Anne of the Island, still, it's my favorite, besides Anne of Green Gables, of the Anne series. And I think there was one of the Ingleside, Anne of Ingleside or Rilla of Ingleside, one of them, which was my other favorite of the series. But when I started this book again for the second time, I thought, do I really like this as much as I thought I did? And then I kept going and I realized, yes, I very much did and do. And then the pages started really going and I quite enjoyed it. So this is when Anne is in college with some friends, acquaintances, and Gilbert Blythe, who is, you know, the will they won't they person in this part of the series, and it's great. It's easy to say, it's great. So at first she's dorming with some people, and then they find a nice little house to share alongside one of the schoolmates, classmates, what do you call college mates? Aunts, who comes to live with them, and it's kind of a nice situation. And and they seem to accumulate 3 cats in the story, which, you know, you can't go wrong with 3 cats. And just different personalities. You know, some friends who are just kind of blah. And then one who seems a bit frivolous and silly, but she comes along pretty well. She's actually quite smart. And of course Anne. And that's it. That's the whole story now. Yeah, so there's a couple of proposals. Some people do get married here. Some people die. There's a really sad death in this story. I don't want to say who, but it was a sad death. And Anne gets to find out a little bit about her past at one point, which I thought was beautiful and I had forgotten about. And I loved that very much. Anne gets a little bit of her writing career started. At first in a kind of silly way, but then, you know, it's coming along. So I just love the story so much with the ups and downs and, you know, the little bit of romantic bits, but not entirely about that. And I just wanted to live with them in that little house and go to school with them. Or I don't really like going to school, but you know, I could be the aunt. Age-wise, I'd probably be the aunt. So that's good. Some of the favorite characters return here and some don't, but most of them do. So I don't know what else I could say without giving away spoilers for the entire series, so we'll leave it at that. Worth it. And let's see. I am, oh yeah, so March Mystery Madness. I don't know if I'm going to actually finish 5 books, but I've, you know, had couple that I've finished, and I started 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie, the Hercule Poirot novel. I'm not reading this in order. I read it because it had 5 in it, and because I had the copy. And I like it so far. It's almost like a cold case, even though it had been solved in the beginning and someone was convicted for murder. The daughter of the person convicted of the murder thinks that her mother was, you know, unjustly convicted, that she didn't do it. And she, years later, finds Poirot and enlists him in investigating what happened. So that's what it is. It's a look back in a way that makes it cozy because you don't feel like an imminent danger. It's just basically interviewing all the people involved and the story of love and loss and jealousy, poison, which Agatha Christie exceeds. She does very well in poisons because she was an expert because she dealt with poisons during World War One. So, and she dealt with medicine dispensaries as a nurse, but she got to learn about poisons, which is great because she didn't learn about poisons to write books, but it helped her in her writing of these stories. You end up learning a lot about poisons when you read her books. So far I'm pretty early in the book, so I'm not going to say anymore. I'm not going to give away spoilers either way. I know what happened because I saw the series, but I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out because they changed things in the adaptations. So yeah, that was good, or is good so far. Here's a book that I started, and I don't know if I'm going to continue. I like her Regency books, or at least the one I read, so I'm not really an expert. But Georgette Heyer? Still don't know how to pronounce it, guys. Footsteps in the Dark. Kind of a cute pinky, kind of springy pastel color. Don't know what this is because so far the characters I think are all married. So this doesn't look like I don't think it's supposed to be a romance, but it's supposed to be kind of a mystery, and someone inherits a worn down old house that might be haunted, and apparently a murder occurs at some point. And that's all I know about it. So far, it does seem interesting, but kind of cliche. Like all the things that happen in this story are like, they go. It's the early part of the book, and the two, I don't know if it's husband, fiance, or husbands or whatever. They go to a pub together, and they ask about the house, and people are like, "Oh, I would never go in there because it's all that local story." So I don't know if that's gonna bore me or just be a nice diversion. So we'll see if I keep going in this one. Haven't even entered it in Goodreads as having started it because I'm not sure how I feel about it. And currently still reading but loving Hilary Mantel, The Mirror and the Light. It's I'm still in 1536. This I think goes from 1536 to 1540, so it just has been staying in the same spot for a very long time. But it's going forward. It takes its time. I don't mind that. I really don't. It's just that it's not a book that I'm going to rip through. That's all. And I'm fine with that. I kind of don't mind relaxing with books. But it's interesting because it's starting to deal with, and I know you could say, oh, spoilers. It's not. It's history. This is history. This happened. If you know anything about history, you'll know what happened. And Tudor history is one of the most commonly known parts of English history, I think, in the universe. Anyone who lives any part of the world and you say to them, what do you know about British history? What do you know about any of the kings? Name a king or queen of England, and they will probably name one of the Tudors in history, if not the current queen right now. So there you go. So the whole problem with the Tudor times was that they were insecure because their claim to the throne was not the strongest. But Henry's father, Henry VII, Henry Tudor, beat Richard III and became the king. He had certain rights to it, but still. And he had some children, but he only had 2 sons, and one of them died before he could become king. And so Henry knew that there was a bit of an insecurity in his line in that he really should have a male heir and a spare. At least 2. And, daughters are all well and good. And if you know anything about history, you know that Henry VII's daughter is the current ancestress of the current monarchy. So in the long run, that's what happened. But at the time, it was, no, we need male heirs. And it makes sense because in that time, it was like if a female was the reigning monarch, then whoever they married would kind of be assumed to take over. And that would be hard, whether it's from another country, it would be, that would be kind of a foreign power taking over, as it were. Or if it was from someone within, it would be like, well, who is this upstart who thinks that they can? They wanted the male heirs. Henry did not have a male heir at this point. He had an illegitimate son, but that didn't work out. But because he died, and So yeah, his first wife gave him a daughter, who could have become the next queen, and we know eventually she did become a queen, but he wasn't satisfied with that, and he fell in love with Anne Boleyn, and that's where what's happening kind of comes into play, where Henry said, I want to divorce my wife or annul the marriage because of reasons, what I'm not going to get into right now, but the church won't let me. The Pope will not allow it, and for his own reasons, for probably good reasons, but also political reasons, and so it became a thing where he decided, look, Henry VIII was quite the Catholic, but he decided he didn't like Lutheranism, anyway, Martin Luther. He didn't like that whole viewpoint either, but he did like the idea of, wait a minute, why is the Pope the big power? I'm the king. I should be the head of the church. So, and some of the people supporting him, along with Anne Boleyn, were like, yeah, that's a great idea. So he ended up overturning the universe, as it were, by his own Protestant Reformation, which was a loosely based Reformation, because he definitely didn't want to embrace all the Protestant ideals, like he didn't want priests to marry whatsoever. But he had people who were able to put this forth, and then he was able to marry Anne Boleyn, who only gave him a daughter. So at this point, he's married to Jane Seymour, who does give him a son eventually, but that's besides the point. But in the midst of this, Thomas Cromwell, along with other advisors and people that were, working along with Henry, saw a way to push their own Protestant leanings forward and to overhaul the monasteries and the churches and to uncover all of the wealth behind these people to enrich both the king and other people who might be supportive. And that made it even harder to overturn the whole situation, because now that people had this money, they didn't want to give that up, obviously. And the problem was that, okay, so you knock out some of these churches and monasteries and places, but what are the people who are very attached to them in England going to do? So there were some people in the north of England who were rebelling against the situation. They wanted to basically get together and sort of air their grievances before the king. This is very loosely part of history. I'm not gonna be professional about this. And tell the king, look, this is we love you. We just think that you're being handled wrong, and we just want our churches back. We want it as it was before. Henry was never going to agree to that anyway. He may have decided to blame his counselors, whenever he could, but he was a tyrant. You were still rebelling against him. He was not going to change his mind. He was not going to overturn things or return things to the way things were. So they were doomed from the beginning. But at the time, it was probably a very dangerous time to be around Henry, because you don't know what he was going to do and how he was going to turn on you. So that's what I'm up to in the book. Right now, it's kind of exciting, although, kind of tragic in a lot of ways too. The pilgrimage of grace, is like, we just want everything to be as it was. And the king's like, yeah, not happening. And also, how dare you think that I'm influenced by my counselors and my under people? How dare you think that? Only I can blame them. So it's a good book. Yes, I'm going slowly in it, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. And so here's two items that I have not started yet. And this is a magazine I'm going to show you. This is the last one I have in the subscription, because I decided I'm not doing any of the things in the title. Poets and Writers. And I actually like this magazine, but I just didn't want to pay to subscribe to something where I'm not writing or at all. But I thought maybe if I look through this one more time, maybe it'll move me. I don't know. We'll see. It's good. It's a good magazine though. So, and then this, I was going to wait till April, but I may just jump on this right away, because I keep seeing it and I just love it so much. Miss Austen by Gil Hornby. And anything related to Jane Austen I love, but this is about Cassandra, the sister, after Jane has died. So I think, and it just looks so springy. I really just got to do this. Even though it's not the springtime of Cassandra's life for sure. It's the autumn of her life. Dun, dun, dun. So that's all the books. That's my situation right now, and that's all the books that I'm either reading, currently reading, about to read, have just read. Let me know, you guys, in the comments if you're reading anything right now, how you're dealing with everything, what kind of tea you're drinking, what are you cooking? I don't know. and if you're posting anything, Friday reads, updates, whatever, I'm trying to follow along too because I'm very interested in what everybody's doing. So I hope you've enjoyed, and this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely, healthy book and tea-filled day. Bye.